China is rapidly overhauling its network of secret facilities used to manufacture warhead components as it expands its nuclear stockpile faster than any other nation. According to a Washington Post report, Beijing is intensifying efforts to be able to retaliate more quickly against an attack. China's rapid expansion of weapons production facilities continued. A Pentagon report claimed that nuclear warhead production slowed since 2024, with totals in the low 600s, but it is still on track to surpass the 1,000 mark by the end of this decade. Trump recently announced that he had directed defense officials to start testing nuclear weapons on an equal basis with rival powers.
We renamed the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And well, if you think about it, after the Second World War, they changed it to defense, right? So we won the First World War, we won the Second World War, we won everything in between and everything before, never lost a war. We still don't lose wars. Sometimes we don't fight to win. You know, we'll stay around the country for 15 years, just bomb the hell out of everybody, make everybody miserable. Nobody knows why we're there, you know, the wars that never end. But we made it clear that the days of political correctness in our military, they're over. We don't want to get into wars. I rebuilt the military. We have the strongest military by far in the world. We make the best equipment, the best missiles, the best rockets, the best everything. We redid our nuclear. We're the #1 nuclear power, which I hate to admit because it's so horrible.
According to analysts, it is unlikely that China could match the estimated 3,700 U.S. nuclear warheads in the foreseeable future. But Beijing has made dramatic changes to almost every part of its nuclear weapons program to indicate that the People's Liberation Army is preparing for an all-out arms race. Washington Post accessed satellite images that showed Beijing accelerated activity at key sites involved in producing nuclear warheads. It includes major upgrades at facilities thought to design and manufacture plutonium pits, the cores of nuclear warheads, as well as plants that produce the high explosives used to trigger nuclear reactions. China has largely focused on hundreds of missile silo fields carved into its remote northern deserts since 2021. The report added that nuke warheads thought to be under construction in China comprise a core of fissile material, typically weapons-grade plutonium, manufactured into a spherical shape known as a pit and surrounded by conventional high explosives. When detonated, these explosives compress the fissile core and trigger a chain reaction that releases enormous energy in a nuclear explosion. A facility used for the production of fissile material pits in China's Sichuan province has undergone vast changes in the past 5 years. New security fencing has more than doubled the site's secured footprint, alongside building upgrades and construction across at least 10 locations, including near the core facility where the pits are thought to be produced. According to the Washington Post report, China's main nuclear test site, Lop Nur in western Xinjiang, also expanded in recent years. This site has new underground tunnels and large shafts that might be preparations for renewed nuclear testing. As per report, China conducted only 46 nuclear tests from 1964 to 1996, the year it signed but never ratified the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. These are far fewer than the 1,000 tests carried out by the United States and Russia. Beijing has gradually signaled its ambitions to field a far more diverse nuclear force at higher alertness levels, giving it more tools to pressure the U.S. in an escalating standoff. Last week, the Pentagon claimed Beijing has made significant strides in developing rapid counterstrike capabilities similar to the U.S. Launch-on-Warning system, which can detect ballistic missiles thousands of miles away and launch a counterstrike before they detonate.
A chilling new warning from the Pentagon as China's nuclear buildup accelerates at a pace unmatched by any other nuclear power. Draft Pentagon report says China likely loaded more than 100 intercontinental ballistic missiles across 3 newly built silo fields. Beijing calls Pentagon's report a recycled narrative, a pretext, it says, for U.S. nuclear expansion and strategic posturing. The report, seen by news agency Reuters, says China shows no appetite for arms control talks, even as global concerns grow over nuclear stability. According to a draft Pentagon report, China has likely deployed more than 100 intercontinental ballistic missiles in newly built silo fields near its border with Mongolia, a dramatic acceleration of its long-range strike capability that has stunned observers and Washington alike. These solid-fuel DF-31 ICBMs, silent sentinels buried deep beneath the steppe, are believed to be deployed in silo fields near China's border with Mongolia, the first time U.S. officials have estimated how many missiles may be loaded at those sites. While the Pentagon has not identified potential targets, officials warned the findings underscore Beijing's rapidly expanding military ambitions. Reuters reports that they signal a rapid expansion of China's nuclear forces as Beijing's arsenal continues to grow. Analysts warn the stockpile could exceed 1,000 warheads by the decade, challenging long-standing assumptions about strategic parity. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists says China is expanding and modernizing its nuclear arsenal faster than any other nuclear-armed nation. Beijing has rejected the accusations, calling them attempts to smear and defame China and mislead the international community. China's embassy in Washington insists it maintains a defensive nuclear strategy, keeps its arsenal at the minimum level required for national security, and continues to uphold a moratorium on nuclear testing. The Pentagon report estimates China's nuclear warhead stockpile stood in the low 600s in 2024, noting a slower production rate than in earlier years. But the report warns that China's nuclear expansion is ongoing and that Beijing is on track to possess more than 1,000 nuclear warheads by 2030. The findings come just weeks after U.S. President Donald Trump said he may be working on a plan to pursue denuclearization talks with both China and Russia. Yet the Pentagon assessment says Beijing appears uninterested in any comprehensive arms control discussions at this stage. China, meanwhile, reiterates its long-stated position that it follows a no-first-use nuclear policy and views its arsenal as purely defensive. The report also delivers a stark warning beyond nuclear weapons, stating that China believes it could fight and win a war over Taiwan by the end of 2027. Beijing considers democratically governed Taiwan its own territory and has never ruled out the use of force to achieve reunification. According to the Pentagon, China is refining military options to seize Taiwan by brute force, including long-range strikes as far as 1,500 to 2,000 nautical miles from its shores. In sufficient numbers, the report warns, such strikes could severely disrupt U.S. military presence across the Asia-Pacific region. Meanwhile, China has now turned the pressure back on Washington, urging the United States to fulfill its own nuclear disarmament responsibilities. Beijing says the U.S. should substantially reduce its nuclear arsenal to create conditions for broader global disarmament.
We demand that both sides of the conflict ensure the safety and legitimate rights and interests of Chinese citizens and enterprises.
I am not familiar with the so-called internal report from the United States you referred to. This kind of rhetoric from the US is a consistent tactic of theirs, aimed at providing justification for their own rapid modernization of nuclear capabilities and for actions that undermine global strategic stability. The international community must have a clear understanding of this. The United States, as the superpower with the largest nuclear arsenal, the nuclear superpower, must genuinely fulfill its special priority responsibility for nuclear disarmament, further substantially and significantly reduce its nuclear arsenal, and create conditions for other nuclear weapon states to join the disarmament process.
As nuclear arsenals grow, diplomacy stalls and tensions rise from Eastern Europe to the Indo-Pacific. The race between deterrence and escalation is once again taking center stage on the global chessboard.